I would like to welcome all to this new webinar. I think this time we are touching a very interesting topic, since according to the European legislations and regulations, the food packaging should be safe, should not transfer any substances that may endanger human health, bring an acceptable change in the composition of food, and bring a deterioration of the organoleptic characteristics of the product that serves the consumer. Of course, to accomplish this task, you need a toolbox. And after many investigations and studies, we found out that the association, the EHEDG, the European Hygienic Engineering and Design Group, has developed these guidelines needed, the total toolbox needed to accomplish these tasks, to offer and to the market packaged foods, packaged goods, foods and drinks that are safe for the consumers. So it's our honor to welcome Andwi. First of all, Andwi van den Berg. Sorry for the pronunciation.
It's perfect.
Which is the director of the EHEDG. And together with Andwi, Tobias Braunegger, which is representing Multivac. He's the hygienic design specialist of that group. It's also a member of EHEDG, the working group for packaging machines. And of course, Frederick Hansen, which is representing Tetra Pak, also member of the same working group, and senior technology specialist in aseptic technologies and performance.
Who is EHEDG and how do we work? For those of you who are not familiar with EHEDG, EHEDG stands for the European Hygienic Engineering and Design Group, a group that was founded by an initiative of the European Commission in 1989. It's a non-profit consortium consisting of a small head office in Amsterdam and a very large group of volunteers working in the organization. And when I talk about the very large group, we have 5,000 individuals that are working through their companies for us or their organizations. And at the moment, we have over 500 people that are actively engaged in writing new guidelines for the industry. And this can be people from equipment manufacturers, from food producers. You know, we have the service industries, we have research institutes, but also non-governmental and governmental organizations. And it's our main objective to say, okay, this is what we deliver. We develop guidelines based on hygienic engineering and design. And with that, we prevent or we lower the risks of food contamination. So we deliver a higher quality of food safety and food quality. And this is to avoid situations like these. And this was a slide that I took from the VMT. It's a Belgian organization that looked in August and said, okay, what have been the E. coli outbreaks in the past 6 months? And we saw outbreaks in the UK, in the US, in France, in Denmark, all over the world. And this is just a simple example. But if you look at the Buitoni factory in France, dot number 4, that factory that produced frozen pizzas is now closed. They had to close down because of the E. coli outbreak, the case that they had there. And following our guidelines, it's not a guarantee that you will not have that outbreak, but the chances that you will have the outbreak are much lower. And therefore we say, okay, let's put the producers and the retailers, the equipment manufacturers, the service providers, the academia and the legislators, let's put them together, make sure that we create the circumstances where Coca-Cola and PepsiCo and Mondelez and Unilever, which in the market, the commercial market, are each other's competitors. But we create an environment where they can work together because they share technical market knowledge in order to build the guidelines for the whole industry. This is the most important thing that we deliver, those guidelines. So on food safety and quality. But we also do testing and certification. And based on the guidelines, we develop trainings and education programs. Now, there's always the way, okay, how do we balance that? Now, we are funded by our members. As said, we have voluntary involvement, and we want to attract both small and large companies. So it's not just the Danones and the Kraft Heinz and the Kerrys of this world, but we also have small enterprises or small organizations that consist of 3, 4, 5 companies. And this is usually the case in the markets where we're active in. We have a few large members, but the majority is smaller members.
So Tobias and I are working at the moment on Guideline 29. We will share a few details of that with you. But first, since we have a Greek audience, I don't know Greek, but I've heard of one Greek word at least. That's something like amartia. And it is from the start an archery term, which means to miss the target, roughly. And it's then also used in Greek tragedy and Christian theology and so on. And it depicts flaws or defects of a character. It's something like to sin, and those flaws can lead to a potential downfall. So in this sense, to miss the target is a sin. In EHEDG, there has also been a few targets defined for the hygienic design. They may be called objectives, but here, since we spoke of targets just now, I'll call them targets. And in a similar way to the archery term, to miss the target in hygienic design can be considered a sin and may lead to illness, like Advi shared before. There have been illness in outbreaks of contaminations, and even the downfall of companies as well. So the 3 targets here is to prevent ingress, to prevent accumulation, and to prevent growth. And EHEDG has also defined a set of hygienic design principles. And if you follow the steps of these principles, you will be much closer to the target, and you will find it much easier to hit the target and to avoid the hamartia. It is helpful to have general guidelines and principles, but it's even more helpful to have some details when it is possible. So in document 29, there was a previous release in 2004 sharing some of these details, but also in the last 20 years, the world has evolved. For example, the consumer behavior is slightly different. There's a growing market for ready-to-eat meals. The evolving regulations and industry expectations that Advi also shared with you. There's an increased availability of hygienic design components that you can actually buy off the shelf now. There are new packaging formats and much better automation and robotics opportunities. So that's why it was time to create the second major revision. The document 29 deals with hygienic design of packaging machines for solid foodstuffs. The second edition has the specific aim to facilitate the communication between manufacturers and users when performing a hygienic design risk assessment. And it can be very useful to facilitate this dialogue early on so that all possible risks can be handled in the design phase, requirements and design phase. The document 29 may also be applied when adopting a hygienic design risk management concept, as has been outlined in the recent EHEDG document 58. And the document 29 is a multi-part guideline. And the first part that has been released contains general considerations of the hygienic design evaluation concept, and further parts will be released later on.